Welcome back to FacetNet. Today, in this video, I'm going to show you how to create a user, which is a local user in Windows Server 2019, and then I'm going to add the user into a remote desktop user groups. We have used remote desktop services in so many places. In a Windows client operating system, you can usually create a user, and the user, once you enable the remote desktop services, the user will be able to access the remote desktop services. But in Windows servers, it's there's a bit of a different configuration that you need to do. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to show you how to create first a user in Windows Server 2019. So just go to Start menu, right click, and go to Computer Management. So when you go to Computer Management, you have options here in the Computer Management screen. Click on Local User Groups and click on Users. When you click on Users, you can see here the standard users, which is an administrator account which was created as a built-in account, and then I create an account here. We can right click and create a new user called test user. Alright, so there's a username, so it's better not to give any space, so I'll give test and I'll put the description test user. You can provide a password for your test user, right? And you can use your best practice to leave this option checked in, as like the user must change the password in the next login. If you don't want to, then you can tick off this and you can tick these options so that the user cannot change the password and the password is not going to be expired. Keep in mind, this is not a good practice. You don't want to use the same password forever, and we want the users to keep on changing their password. So you can change it, but on my testing, I'm just going to leave this as it is. So create a user, done, close. So the new user is being created. So if you go to the user groups or users and into the user member of, as you can see, this test user is just the member of users. He's not part of a remote desktop service user. For you to add this user into a remote desktop enabled user, you need to go to settings. So when you go to settings, you will see the Windows setting menu. Click on system. Then you just need to go all the way down on your left hand side to click remote desktop. Now the remote desktop lets you connect to and control this computer from a remote device by using a remote desktop client. You will be able to work from any device as if you were working directly on this computer. So first enable the remote desktop, confirm, right? So the remote desktop is enabled and I'm going to add the user here. So I'm going to click on user account. So select the user that can remotely access this PC. So I'm going to click here and you can see there is no remote desktop users being added here. So you need to click the add button. You can go to advanced, click find now. That will search all the users in this Active Directory, also in this local computer. There's no Active Directory installed yet, so it's a local user. So you can see test user and the other user. I will select both of them and I'll click. So now the user has been given a permission to use the remote desktop. There are more configurations here. How to connect to. Use this PC name to connect to your computer from remote, or you can use the IP address. And here are some other configuration that's you can go into settings and you can change these configurations. These are like fine tunings of remote desktop. So now technically the user has got access to connect to remote desktop services. What I can do now, I can go into this server, or I will go into another computer and I'm going to do a remote access. Alright, so as you can see, now I got a computer here. I'm going to just use these remote desktop services to connect to this computer. So I got the IP address of the computer. So the IP address of the computer that I installed the operating system was 27.27. So I'm going to just connect to that computer. So I'll click connect. There you go. And the username is dot backslash. The name that I have got here on this computer, let me check the computer name. I'm pretty sure I haven't changed the default computer name, so let's copy the computer name. Right, copy the computer name. I'll go back here, I'll put the computer name backslash test and the password. There may be a firewall may block the connection. Let's check it, and if the connection failed, we'll go back and turn off the firewall. There you go, it's connected. So now you can see I've got connected to the test user from my other computer. Right, I am in this computer. Right, so if you see this is the computer has got the operating system. So if you click in here again, see the user. Right, the user, if you want you can check it here. If you hover over here, it says test user, so I'm in remote. Let's go back and check in the task manager. What's in the task manager? I can see both users are active. So that's how you configure a remote desktop connection on a Windows Server 2019. This is not a terminal server. This is not a remote desktop service. This is a remote desktop connection on a local computer. There is a remote desktop service in which where you need to install Microsoft Remote Desktop Services and configure Microsoft Remote Desktop Services to create that. That's in large scale to have multiple people to log in and work on a server at the same time. Hope this makes sense and this gives you an idea of how to create user and add the user to remote desktop groups. Thanks for watching.